Alright guys, the 7th endgame in the 100 endgames you have to know series from Jesus to the Villas book. Right, so here, following on from the last endgame, you saw in the last game that the Black King was on the wrong colour square. The Black King was on this side of the board, but the Black had a dark squared bishop. Black had the same coloured squared bishop as the corner that the King was in. Here, Black has the opposite coloured bishop to the corner that it's in. Black King's in the black corner, in the dark squared corner, and Black has a light squared bishop. This bishop can only go on the light squares. So this position's a draw here. However, there's certain things that Black needs to be careful of. Just to illustrate that it's a draw, after Rook A8, check, Bishop goes back to G8, and if White plays a waiting move here, this is stalemate. As you see in my notes here, the point of going to the opposite square of your bishop in this position, if White moves the King, it's stalemate. If the Black bishop were on F8 and the King were on G8, then it would not be stalemate. King would be able to go to H8, and the Rook would pick up the bishop and win. So this position is a draw. However, it's only a draw with best play, and there are ways to lose it. If the Rook starts attacking the bishop, you have no problem just moving the bishop back off on these two squares here. The King might come out here, and here obviously you can't check, but it doesn't matter that you can't check. Make a simple waiting move here, and something White can try here is giving a check, bringing the King out of the corner, and then here you see a double attack on the bishop and on the checkmate square. This is check. If it was White to move here, White would be able to play checkmate with Rook C8. However, Black has a get out of jail card here with Bishop D3 check, and now the King has to move off the opposite square of the King. So now White does not have a checkmate threat. After the bishop moves back, Rook check is not checkmate. King is the H7 square. However, one where you might go wrong, if after the King moves to the G6 square, if you were to play Bishop E6 here, and now as you can see, you can play a table-based Rook H7, White wins in 7 moves. And the reason why is after Rook H7 check, King G8, Rook E7. Again, double attacking the E8 square and the bishop. Rook to E8. Rook to E8 here is checkmate if it was White to move. You saw in the last example we gave that the bishop had the check to get out of jail. Now you can see Black can't play the check. King just takes the bishop. So just to illustrate that again, King G6 in here, Bishop C4. Make sure you stay off the E6 square. D5, C4, B3 or A2 are fine when the King's on G6. On moving the bishop to E6 is not fine. After Rook H7 here, King to G8, Rook back to C7, threatening checkmate and the bishop at the same time, but Bishop D3 check saves the day. King moves off the G6 square, or if it goes the other way, it's the same thing. Bishop back to B1, Rook check, and the King gets out here. If the King goes the other way, again, you can stay on this diagonal. You don't need to go back on that diagonal, and you can't, in fact, because the Rook defends the C4 square. But it doesn't matter here. Rook check here, and the King moves off. Here the issue with Bishop E6 just once more. After this check, pushing the King back out. And then here. Bishop doesn't have this check because the King can take. The reason you can't go Rook E7 straight away, by the way, is because the bishop goes back to G8. So now you don't have this threat anymore. So that's why the Rook H7 check is so important. Rook e7 back here. The bishop can't retreat back to bishop g8 with its stalemate trick. So again, just the point of this endgame, just stay on this a2, g8 diagonal. You can stay far back if you want. If white ever decides to play king g6, that's fine. You always have your bishop along this diagonal on the a2, b3, c4, or d5 squares, guarding the g8 square. So if rook ever plays here, you've got this bishop g8 move. Important thing when you're going along this diagonal, do not touch the e6 square, because you'll get caught up in this trick again, as you see in my tablet. Rook h7, king g8, rook back to e7, and now you're stuck. Or anything else, or anything along this diagonal, and it's checkmate. The other example here is just the same thing. Alright, cheers guys, thanks a lot.